Hello, welcome back to Pepper Knits. Happy 1st of December and happy Vlogmas. I thought it would be good to kick off this first episode of Vlogmas with an update on my projects and just catch you up on what I've been doing since my last podcast. I have spent most of my knitting time on one project, and that is what I'm wearing. This is my Amelia blouse by Solvara Knitwear. I knit this in Sandnes Garn Tynn liner on 3mm needles, so it definitely took a while. It was my first time working a fully bottom-up construction where you're knitting the body and the sleeves bottom up and then join everything together and shape it in the yoke. And I had a lot of fun doing it. It was, enjoyable to do something a bit different and challenge myself a little bit. But I did find the stitch pattern really easy to get going and quite easy to memorize as well. The pattern was really well written, especially when you're doing decreases. It has pretty much each row almost written out on how you're supposed to continue working in pattern with changing number of stitches. So I really appreciated that. However, I did have some issues when it came to shaping the yoke. I just followed the pattern. As I said, this was a new construction to me, so I didn't really know what I was doing. And after I'd finished knitting it as per the pattern, the yoke had so much extra fabric in it. So this is like a seamless set-in sleeve construction. And basically you are doing decreases just on the side of the sleeve here to decrease the number of stitches in the sleeve until you get to no stitches up here. The pattern then has you start decreasing stitches either side of these two stitches here, and then you continue knitting and it kind of creates like a sloped shoulder. And I think that's what my problem was. I think I have quite flat across shoulders and I just didn't need that extra fabric that it created by making the shoulders sloped. So it was, a little bit of a disappointment after I tried it on, and I was really unhappy with how it was looking. I just couldn't get it to sit right and fit me in a way that I was happy with and that looked like what it was supposed to look like. So after a little bit of wallowing, and I thought, no, I have to fix this. I spent so much time making this. I really want the finished object. I did a little bit of, rough research. I couldn't really find exactly what I was looking for, but I figured that the only problem was that there was just too much fabric here. So I figured I would just rip out what I had done and bind off basically. I realized that I just needed some flat, straight across shoulder seams, and I essentially did that by just casting off stitches where I wanted them, where I wanted the neckline and the shoulders to finish. So the shoulders do look a little bit different than they're supposed to in the pattern. So in the pattern, obviously, because you continue knitting in the round, the pattern kind of continues this way. I think here you can see I've just bound off these stitches on the brown repeat, and then I finished off along the neckline so I could complete the final repeat, and it fits so much better. There's no short row shaping to raise the back neckline in this, which is okay, I think because the neckline is quite high and with the fabric and everything, it's something you get away with. But you might notice that the back kind of sometimes wants to ride up a little bit. But it's one of those things, I think if you just keep adjusting it, it will work. But that's one thing that I've noticed doesn't fit me quite right. I'm super happy with the length of the sleeves. They're a little bit on the long side. That's exactly how I wanted them to be. I really didn't want them to be too short. So that's my finished object, and the whips that I'm working on, I have 2 at the moment. My first work in progress are 2 pairs of socks. I'm making these adorable little dash hound socks for some family friends. They're going to be a his and hers pair. So I finished the first pair, and then I finished the first sock on the second pair, which has the colours reversed, and I love how that looks. I think it's so cute. Obviously I need to do the duplicate stitching for the dog on this one, and this is how far through the second sock I am for that second pair. The other thing that I'm working on is a summer tee, and I have tried to knit this a couple of times. I have successfully made this t-shirt 3 or 4 times, and I've been wanting one in this Knitting for Olive cotton merino in the colour mole. It is my absolute favourite colour from Knitting for Olive. So I've had the yarn for a little while, and the reason I kept having to frog it was because I was just not getting the right gauge, and I knew that I needed to go down to a 2.75mm needle, and for some reason I thought this one would be different, but surprisingly it wasn't. This is knit at a 25 stitch gauge, so it's pretty small, but that's partly why I like it so much. I feel like it makes it very wearable for warmer summer days, and I'm just really excited to have this finished object. One of these that I'd knit I had given to my sister, and she was wearing it the last time I saw her, and that really motivated me to want to get this one going on the needles again. It's a little bit hard to show, but this is a contiguous, like again seamless set in sleeve construction, and it has these lovely folded over edges and cuffs and hem, and it's just a really enjoyable knit. I love this pattern. It is like my go-to summer tea pattern, so I really want the finished object, and now I feel like I'm finally on track with that. I can enjoy knitting it. I don't have any yarny advent calendars or anything this year. I've never had one before. I just think it's a lot of money to spend on yarn that I'm not sure what I'm getting. But I love watching other people open their advent calendars and living vicariously through them. I do have like an advent knit along project in mind that I'm excited to cast on. The same designer for the tea I didn't mention is Maureen from Atelier Castin, and she announced, I think yesterday on her Instagram, she will be hosting or running a mystery advent knit along. And yeah, I've never participated in something like this before, so I'm really looking forward to it. It sounds like a very easy project to have on the needles. The pattern is being released for free, which is so generous and kind to give back to the knitting community in this way. And yeah, I think it's really nice to be able to bring people together to be knitting the same thing. And yeah, like I said, it sounds like a very easygoing project that shouldn't be a ton of work during a very busy month. I had originally picked out some different yarn for this project. It needs either one full 100 gram skein of DK weight yarn or 250 grams, or you can obviously mix and match your fingering weight skeins and scraps to get the amounts that you need for this project. I had a look through my stash and I found what I thought I was going to use, a single skein of DK weight yarn, but I did receive a very special package in the post this afternoon, and I think that's changed my mind. I've been chatting to the lovely Erica for a little while now, just on Instagram, and I feel like we have so much in common, and our like ideas and our thoughts around knitting and just in general are very similar. We finally had a proper video call together. She lives in Sydney, so unfortunately we can't meet up in person at the moment, but it was so nice. We were chatting for a good couple of hours and it felt like I was talking to her for 5 minutes. Erica is such a kind and generous person, and she had a few skeins from her personal stash there and just asked if I would like to have them, and she was just offered to send me them. These are the 3 skeins that she sent over to me. I have never used this yarn before. I don't think I've even seen it in person. It is a BC Garn Loch Lomond bio. I have 2 skeins of this like grey brown colour. When I first looked at this one, I thought it was a lot more brown, but then compared to this darker brown, I feel like it leans a bit more grey. I think they go really nicely together. I'm kind of thinking I use these skeins for the mystery knit along. I can either pair these 2 colours together. There's not a huge amount of contrast, so I might have to just see how they look together as I start the project, or obviously I could just do 2 skeins of the same colour. So I'm looking forward to Thursday, seeing what the pattern is and figuring out my yarn choice. It's getting pretty late in the afternoon now. I have come back from Pilates and I need to have a shower and start making dinner. I'm sure Tilly would also like to go out for a walk, although it has been incredibly hot today and she really doesn't like going out when it's too warm. So we'll see how she goes. Maybe that will have to wait till later this evening. But I'm looking forward to sharing what I get up to this month. Thanks so much for following along, and I hope you enjoy watching. Happy Wednesday. I'm just taking a little bit of a knitting break in the middle of the afternoon. I've been making some good progress on these socks finally. I had pretty good motivation to get through the first pair and then first sock on the second pair. This sock is just taking me a really long time to finish. I've had a couple of false starts on this, which has not helped with the motivation. The first time I was knitting on this when I was actually talking to Erica, and I forgot to add in the brown stripe. It just kept going on the leg, so I had to rip back. And then the second time I did this, I realized the gap where you're supposed to leave like these stitches here to add the duplicate stitching, I realized I put them on the wrong side of the sock. So they're supposed to be mirroring pairs from each other. So when you have the socks on, the sausage dog face is on the outside of each sock. So I had to rip back again, and I almost didn't. I almost thought about just carrying on and putting the heel on the other side. But then the problem with that is the beginning of round and where I was carrying the yarn would have been running down the front of the sock, and I just didn't think it would look very good, and it would maybe feel a little bit weird when they were being worn. So unfortunately I had to rip that out again. But I have finally finished knitting the leg now. I finished that on my lunch break and made a start on the heel. So that feels good. My sea salt tee, I realized I never properly said the pattern or the designer. The brown t-shirt that I'm knitting in the Knitting for Olive Cotton Merino is called the Sea Salt Tee by Atelier Castin, and yeah, I'm making pretty good progress on that. It's just here, so I may as well show you. I'm very close to being able to split for sleeves. The yoke is definitely what takes the longest on this pattern. I feel like once you're split for sleeves, the sleeves are really short, so they don't take very long to finish, and you've knit most of it with the shaping that you create in the yoke. I obviously also need to add on the collar, but that doesn't take too long. So yeah, making good progress on this as well. It's quite bunched up on these needles, so it's a bit hard to show. So I think I'll do a proper try on and show you what it's looking like after I split for sleeves, and I'll want to check the fit of everything as I do that as well. I'm really looking forward to casting on the Advent project. I realized with the time zone differences, it will probably be Friday by the time I actually receive the pattern and can start working on it. So one more extra day for me to wait, but that's okay. I think it will be worth it, and realistically I'll probably have more knitting time over the weekend than during the week. Apart from that, I have another, I guess, fibre related thing to share with you. Some family friends have some pet alpacas, and they obviously know we're in summer, they had to shear them, and before, this was months ago, they did ask me if when they eventually had to shear them, would I like the fleece? And I just said yes without even really thinking about what I was going to do with it. I'm not a spinner, I have never processed any kind of fleece or wool or anything, so I had no idea what I was getting myself into, but I got a message the other day to say that they have shorn them and they have the fleeces, they're ready to go. So there's 2 alpaca fleece, and then apparently there's also some merino thrown in there as well. As excited as I am about this, I don't even really know where to start on processing fleece. I put out a call for help on Instagram, and I received quite a few really helpful messages and information from people who obviously know a lot about how to process wool or alpaca from a fleece into yarn. I was thinking it would be easier for me to just find somewhere or someone to do it all for me, but I think with the cost involved and the fact it's only 2 fleece, it's just not really worth it, and it's probably just easier to learn how to do it myself, and I'm pretty open to doing that. Spinning is something that I've dabbled in a little bit before. I have a drop spindle, and I've only ever tried to spin one batch of fibre, but I've just found it really hard. I don't know if it's the drop spindle or the fibre or me. So I have been looking at secondhand spinning wheels as well, but yeah, they are obviously not inexpensive. I found a couple that aren't too bad, and I think I'd prefer to get something secondhand. So there's a little bit of an update. I'm really looking forward to seeing the fleece. I have a little bit more work to get back to. I think I have one more meeting this afternoon, and this evening is my nephew started school this year, and he has his little Christmas concert, and I'm really excited to watch him. I think he's quite nervous about performing, but he said if all of us are there then he'll go. I think he just needs a little bit of that moral support, knowing that we're there to support him, and I'm really looking forward to seeing him. Anyway, back to work for me, and that is my plan for the rest of today, and I will catch you up a little bit later. Bit of a busier work day today. I just had to come into the lab to drop off some samples. There is a Salvos just around the corner from here that I haven't been into in a while, and I think it's quite a good one, so I might have a little look in there if it's already open. It's quite early. I don't even think it's 9 o'clock yet, so I have to see if they're open. Anything for myself, but I managed to get some things for Christmas presents. My family does a Secret Santa, but you have to get something secondhand, and I actually got my husband, and he wanted some sci-fi novels or some other kind of like reading material. I think he's read everything in the house that he wants to read, and so I got him a few things that I think he might enjoy. They're pretty popular authors, so I feel like they should be good. And then I did also get a huge bag of polyfill, funnily enough, not for me, but also for my husband, because apparently it's good for fish tanks in some way. There's something in the filter, I think, that you need polyfill for. So I asked him if he wanted it, and he said yes, please. So I guess I can use some of it as well. So it was a pretty successful trip. I didn't get anything for myself, but that's okay. I still managed to tick off some things on my shopping list for Christmas. I'm just about to make myself a cup of tea, and then I'll sit down and get some computer work done. I might head out to the shops later this evening. It's Thursday, so the shops are open late, and I might get a bit more Christmas shopping done. I don't have heaps of things to buy, but I also have my mum's birthday present to get. So I might have a look for something for her as well. Happy Friday. I can't believe how quickly this week has gone. It has just flown by, but that's good. I've had a pretty good week so far. I think I'm going to upload weekly vlogs on a Friday and just see how I go. I'm trying to keep it low pressure and just enjoy sharing these vlogs. I did not end up going to the shops yesterday afternoon. My last meeting didn't finish until 5 o'clock, and by the time I had taken the dog out and got myself sorted, I was just too hungry and I wanted to eat dinner, and then after that I knew I would not want to go and leave the house. But that's okay. Fridays I can usually finish around lunchtime, and I've managed to wrap up my work for the week, hopefully, unless anything comes through last minute. It is 12:30, so I am really hungry. I'm gonna go have lunch in a minute, but I wanted to sit down and quickly catch you up a little bit. You can see that I'm wearing my Amelia blouse. This is the first time I've properly worn it. I got changed to something else this morning, and then I was sitting there, I was getting a little bit cold, and I thought, this is exciting. It's the perfect weather to be wearing a long-sleeved linen cotton blouse. So this morning when I woke up, the first clue had been released for Atelier Castin's mystery Advent knit along. I have a feeling I know what the project is, but I don't want to say anything and spoil it, and I just want to have fun knitting all the clues and seeing the project come together. The first clue does seem really achievable to finish within a week, even with the other projects that I have going, and I'm really excited to cast on. I had to wind up my yarn this morning, but my yarn winder has been, ever since I got it, it's not really been a great one. I should have just invested in a better quality one, but I didn't. And I've tried to make it work and fixed it and it just wasn't working this morning. No matter how much I tried to oil it and tweak things and tighten it, it just didn't want to work. So I ended up having to wind this by hand, and I just did one skein. I decided I want to combine the two different colors of this yarn that I have. They're pretty low contrast, but I think in this type of project that is an accessory, I think it will look really nice still. The first clue starts off with the contrast color, so that is all I've wound up for now. And then maybe later, when I can be bothered, I will do the second one. It didn't take very long because these are 50 gram skeins, but they have really good meterage. This one is 150 meters per 50 grams. I'm so excited to use this yarn and just see how it works up. It feels so light and airy, so I think it'll be really nice to knit with. I'll share my other projects a little bit later. I'm making good progress on both of them actually. I have finished the heel flap and started the gusset decreases on the final sock. I feel like that sock is taking forever, and then after I finish that I'm going to have to go back and add in all the duplicate stitching and everything on the other socks, and do all the weaving in at ends and everything. But that's okay, it will get done when it gets done. And I finally also split for sleeves on my sea salt tee. I always forget how long the yoke takes on that project, but then once you've split for sleeves, I feel like the rest of the t-shirt goes by super quickly. I really need to have some lunch. I'm super hungry, and I did make some pasta for dinner last night with heaps of leftovers, which is my favourite kind of dinner when I can have it for lunch the next day. And then I think because I didn't go shopping yesterday evening, I might go this afternoon. I really hate going to the shops on the weekend, and I'm very fortunate that I have a job that allows me to go on Fridays when it's not too busy. I think my reward for going to the shops and getting some things done on my to-do list will be to cast on this project. That's good motivation to make the most of my afternoon. Okay, but first I need to have something to eat. Christmas shopping was mildly successful. I didn't get everything I wanted to, and it was actually quite busy. I feel like maybe school holidays might have started for some schools, so there was a lot of kids and people about, but that's okay. I'm home now and I managed to tick off a few things on my to-do list. I have a little bit of time to just sit and get started on my mystery advent, which I'm really excited for. We're going out a little bit later this afternoon. As we've been out walking Tilly, we have met some other people who have a greyhound as well, and we're going to go on a little joint walk together just around our neighbourhood. I think their dog has a similar personality to Tilly. She can be a little bit cautious around other dogs. Usually she's quite friendly with them and wants to say hi, but then once they get too close she gets a little bit nervous, and I think that might be a quite common personality trait in greyhounds, just the way that they've grown up. But I have plenty of time to sit down and get started on this new project, which is very exciting. I obviously have my yarn that's been wound up and I have the pattern open, and it says the gauge is 21 stitches by 28 rows on a 4mm needle. Having a look at this yarn, and actually on the yarn label, it recommends a 4 to 5mm needle for an 18 stitch gauge, so I would be quite far off. And previously I've always had to go down needle sizes for Marine's pattern, so I think I'm going to try and see how I go on a 3.5mm needle. If I find that it's not comfortable to knit, or I don't really like how the fabric's turning out, then I'll go back up to a 4, but I'll get started on a 3.5. That's what my instinct is telling me. It'll be quite nice to be working on slightly larger needles, even though 3.5 is not big, but my t-shirt's on a 2.75 and socks are on a 2.25, so this will feel like such chunky knitting compared to my other projects.